In a world of broken promises, one leader is rewriting his nation's future, reviving the revolutionary spirit that once transformed West Africa. Today, we examine how 34-year-old President Ibrahim Traoré is radically reshaping Burkina Faso through bold and unapologetic reforms that echo the vision of Thomas Sankara, the iconic revolutionary whose brief 4-year rule forever changed the nation's identity. As regional instability and economic challenges mount, Traore's ambitious agenda stands as either a beacon of hope or a dangerous gamble for the Burkinabes. The question isn't whether he's changing Burkina Faso, it's whether his revolution can succeed where Sankara's was cut short. To understand Traore's rise, we must first understand Burkina Faso's complex reality. A landlocked nation of 21 million people where 40% live below the poverty line despite vast gold reserves generating billions in revenue. Following years of political instability and growing security threats from jihad insurgencies that have displaced nearly 2 million citizens, Traoré emerged not just as a leader, but as a symbol of national resistance and hope.
Je jure devant le peuple burkinabé et sur mon honneur de préserver.
As a 34-year-old military officer with battlefield experience against extremist groups, Traoré seized power in September 2022, promising to reclaim Burkina Faso's sovereignty and dignity. His youth and military background resonated with a population that had become increasingly frustrated by foreign influence and government ineffectiveness in the face of mounting crises. Traoré's administration has launched an extraordinary transformation across 4 critical sectors, including the gold mining revolution. Though Burkina Faso ranks as Africa's 5th largest gold producer with annual production exceeding 70 tons, historically, just 10% of this wealth remained in the country. Traoré's administration has fundamentally restructured this relationship through 3 strategies. First one is mandatory renegotiation of all foreign mining contracts, increasing the government's stake to a minimum of 35% and implementing a progressive tax system tied to global gold prices. Second is the creation of a sovereign wealth fund specifically for mining reserves, with transparent allocation formulas directing funds to infrastructure, education, and healthcare. And the third strategy is establishment of a domestic gold purchasing program where the central bank acquires 20% of all locally produced gold at market rates, building national reserves and reducing currency volatility. These changes are projected to increase national revenue from the mining sector by approximately $400 million annually, nearly doubling the previous returns. In terms of healthcare transformation, Traoré's healthcare initiative addresses Burkina Faso's critical shortage of medical infrastructure through construction of regional medical centers equipped with modern diagnostic technology, reducing average travel distance for specialized care from 217 kilometers to under 75 kilometers. It will also include implementation of a healthcare worker retention program that combines competitive salaries with housing subsidies, reversing the brain drain that has historically pulled medical professionals to neighboring countries. And the introduction of a national pharmaceutical production facility in partnership with Cuba and Algeria will significantly reduce dependency on imported medications for the most common health conditions affecting Burkinabe citizens. These initiatives represent the most substantial investment in public health since Sankara's vaccination campaigns in the 1980s. The most ambitious is Traore's economic restructuring program, which fundamentally reimagines Burkina Faso's position in the global economy through 4 strategic pillars. First is a systematic evaluation and renegotiation of all foreign aid agreements, prioritizing technical assistance and technology transfer over direct financial support. Second is the establishment of specialized economic zones focused on agricultural processing, textile manufacturing, and resource refinement, creating value chains that will keep profits within Burkina Faso's borders. Third is the development of regional trade agreements, prioritizing neighboring West African nations for reducing dependency on European and American markets while building regional resilience. And fourth is the implementation of a national entrepreneurship program, providing microloans, technical training, and market access to over 15,000 small businesses in its initial phase. These policies represent a major shift from the IMF programs that have dominated Burkina Faso's economic policy for decades. Instead, he is prioritizing self-determination and regional integration. Agriculture employs nearly 80% of Burkina Faso's workforce, yet contributes to just 35% of the GDP, a disparity that Traore's administration is addressing through what he calls agricultural sovereignty. They have the National Seed Bank Initiative, which has collected, preserved, and distributed indigenous seed varieties resilient to local climate conditions, reducing dependency on imported hybrid seeds by 47% in just 18 months. The community irrigation network has constructed over 1,000 small-scale water management systems using technology that can be maintained locally, expanding year-round cultivation potential by an estimated 230,000 hectares. The Strategic Food Reserve Program is creating regional storage facilities with a combined capacity of 150,000 tons, reducing post-harvest losses from 40% to below 15%, while stabilizing market prices throughout the year. These practical interventions directly address the fundamental challenges of food security in a semi-arid region increasingly affected by climate change, while simultaneously reducing dependency on imported staples like rice and wheat. The parallels between Traore and Thomas Sankara transcend superficial comparisons. They reflect a deliberate resurrection of revolutionary governance principles adapted for contemporary challenges. Like Sankara, who renamed the country from Upper Volta to Burkina Faso, land of incorruptible people, Traore has positioned ethical governance as the foundation of his government. His administration's transparency mandate requires all officials to publicly declare their assets, limit government salaries to 3 times the minimum wage, and broadcast all mining contract negotiations on national television. This directly echoes Sankara's famous proclamation that a soldier without political education is a potential criminal, a philosophy Traore has updated by instituting mandatory civic education for all military personnel and establishing civilian oversight committees for security operations. According to Dr. Aminata Traore, a former Malian Minister of Culture and Sankara scholar, he said, and I quote, "What we are witnessing is not simply political similarity, but a resurrection of governance philosophy that places public service above personal enrichment, the cornerstone of Sankara's brief but transformative tenure." Sankara's famous declaration that he who feeds you controls you underpins Traore's approach to resource management and international relations.
Le ministère avait déjà engagé un processus de labour gratuit de 64 000 hectares dans toutes les régions. En plus de ça, donc, nous avons décidé d'acquérir environ un demi-millier de tracteurs et ces tracteurs sont là pour labourer gratuitement. L'accompagnement donc par les semences améliorées et l'engrais qui est aussi disponible, qui sera subventionné.
Both leaders have prioritized three aspects of sovereignty. First is resource nationalism. Sankara nationalized all mineral rights and land, while Traore has implemented what economists call strategic participation through mandatory joint ventures and domestic processing requirements. Second is the domestic production capacity. While Sankara launched consume what we produce what we consume campaigns, Traore has established industrial processing zones specifically for agricultural outputs that were previously exported as raw materials to first world countries. Third is regional solidarity. Sankara cultivated alliances with neighboring revolutionary governments, and Traore has done the same by prioritizing regional trade agreements and security cooperation over historical ties to former colonial powers. As noted by economist Dr. Dongo Samba Sila, both leaders understood that political independence without economic sovereignty is merely symbolic. The difference is that Traore is implementing this vision with the benefit of historical lessons and within a more complex global economic system. The most notable is how both leaders envisioned governance as a vehicle for social transformation. Sankara's campaigns against corruption, promotion of women's rights, and mass literacy initiatives fundamentally challenged entrenched social hierarchies. Similarly, Traore has implemented what his administration calls revolutionary citizenship programs, including the People's Audit Initiative, where community representatives directly participate in reviewing the local government expenditures. They have introduced the new patriotism curriculum in all schools, emphasizing civic responsibility, critical thinking, and national history, including honest assessment of both colonial trauma and post-independence failures. The Cultural Renaissance grants support to artists, writers, and musicians who explore themes of national identity and social progress. Cultural anthropologist Dr. Fatoumata Keita explained that both Sankara and Traore understood that true revolution requires not just economic and political change, but transformation of social consciousness, what citizens believe is possible for themselves and their nation. No analysis will be complete without examining the substantial challenges facing Traore's revolutionary agenda and the critical questions surrounding its sustainability. The most immediate challenge is the ongoing security crisis, with jihadist groups controlling approximately 40% of national territory and over 1.9 million internally displaced citizens. This reality has justified emergency powers and delayed promises of elections, raising legitimate concerns about democratic governance. Critics, including the former minister Ablase Ouedraogo, argue revolutionary rhetoric cannot substitute for democratic legitimacy. Without clear transition timelines, today's liberation movements risks becoming tomorrow's entrenched regime. Supporters counter that security stabilization must precede meaningful democratic processes, pointing to failed elections in neighboring Mali that produced governments unable to effectively counter insurgent threats. This tension between revolutionary governance and democratic process presents the most significant political challenge to Traore's administration. The economic consequences of Traore's resource nationalism have been both promising and problematic. While renegotiated mining contracts have increased government revenue, they've also triggered capital flight, with new foreign investment declining by 38% in the past year. International financial institutions have also responded with both caution and pressure. The IMF has suspended its loan program, while the World Bank has redirected funding from government initiatives to NGO-administered programs, reducing Traore's fiscal flexibility. Regional economic organizations have shown greater support, with the West African Development Bank increasing infrastructure funding by 65% and neighboring Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire expanding trade agreements. This economic recalibration represents both the promise and peril of Traoré's approach: greater sovereignty, but at the cost of traditional support structures that, while being restrictive, they provide financial stability. The Sankara comparison offers not just inspiration but sobering caution. Sankara's revolutionary agenda was brutally terminated after just 4 years, with his assassination widely believed to have been supported by both domestic opponents and foreign powers threatened by his independent stance. Political scientist Dr. Ernest Hash notes Traoré faces a more complex version of the same fundamental challenge that Sankara encountered: how to implement revolutionary change while managing powerful entrenched interests both domestically and internationally. The historical lesson is that even popular revolutionary governments remain vulnerable. This historical parallel raises the most profound question about Traoré's revolution. Can it institutionalize its reforms quickly enough to survive inevitable resistance, or will it follow Sankara's trajectory of transformative promise cut short? Ibrahim Traoré's revolution in Burkina Faso represents one of the most ambitious attempts at national transformation in contemporary Africa. By reclaiming resource sovereignty, rebuilding public infrastructure, revitalizing agricultural production, and fostering a new national consciousness, his administration has embraced the revolutionary legacy of Thomas Sankara while adapting to 21st century realities. What's undeniable is that Traoré's bold experiment challenges conventional development models and raises profound questions about governance, sovereignty, and international relations in post-colonial contexts. It reminds us that even in an era of global integration, the quest for true independence and self-determination remain a powerful force in shaping nations. What do you think? Is Traoré's revolutionary approach the model struggling nations need or not? Share your thoughts in the comment section below. Thank you for watching Safari in African, your gateway to Africa's vast landscapes, diverse cultures, and stories shaping the continent. My name is Meta, and I encourage you to subscribe for more and to support the channel. That is it from me today. Bye.